A good Shabbos, good Hodesh. How's everybody doing? Great to be learning with you on a Friday, Yom Shishi, Rosh Hodesh Elul, Erev Shabbos, and we're making a SIYUM, a completion celebration on Tractate Gittin, the 19th volume of the Talmud. What a great day! Let's light up the darkness. I've got some Macallan 15 sitting here ready so we can make a l'chaim when we finish. We're sort of struggling to get caught up. So today we'll do, it's a highlight show, although we're going to do the complete page 90, the final page of this tractate, which is a little bit on the short side, and highlights of pages 88 and 89. Who's in the house? Bill in Mid-Missouri, Guy in Ohio, Yehudit in South Carolina. Wishing everyone congratulations on completing the tractate. Sharon in New Jersey, Tracy in Oklahoma, Bella in Florida. Must be Friday. Gordo checking in from across the pond in Scotland. Paula in the Great Northwest. Leona in Illinois. Joseph in Massachusetts. Renee in Indiana. Pam in Oregon. Marjorie in Virginia. Ella in the house. Welcome everybody. So excited. What just ran through my mind? Oh, crazy thing. I don't think it's going to affect us at all in terms of the class. But I must say, I've never seen a weather report in Los Angeles, Southern California, telling me that in 2 days, on Sunday, there's 100% chance of rain. That certainly happens in the fall, in the spring, especially in the winter, but not in the summer in LA. And why is there a 100% chance that it's going to rain on Sunday? Because we're going to get a hurricane. Yeah, you know, my dad lives in Florida. I know about hurricanes, but not in LA. So, say a little prayer for us. I think we're just going to have some unseasonable rain. But for people who are truly in the path of this devastating hurricane, let us all pray that no one is harmed, that people get to safety, that the damage is mitigated. Please, God, spare people in the path of Hurricane Hillary. Okay, here we go. Let's do highlights of pages 88 and 89, then we'll do page 90, and then we'll celebrate the completion of Tractate Gittin. By the way, we've been doing the Koren Talmud. The art scroll is just, sort of like its volume count is a little bit different. There's 73 or 72 volumes in the art scroll Talmud. There's 42 volumes. It just means that the volumes are a little bit thicker in the Koren, more combination, fewer, like Shabbos in the art scroll is 4 volumes. In the Koren, it's 2 volumes. So at any rate, and here in the Koren Talmud, which is also known as the Steinsaltz Talmud, his commentaries in it, in all cases the Talmud Bavli, but as the way the Koren is spaced out in terms of volumes, there are 42 volumes. And when we open Tractate Kiddushin, which is the 20th volume of... Right, the 20th volume, right? But there are certain, the way that the tractates are broken down in the Koren, there were certain volumes that combined 2 tractates in it. So just in terms of, let's call it the book count of the Koren, in the Koren, there's 42 books. And today we'll open number 22. So at least in terms of book count, we're getting into the second half of the Talmud. In terms of the day count, Daf Yomi cycle has 2,711 pages. Today we're doing pages 1316 through 1318, right? So we're going to need to get to 1356. It's really around the corner, right? Really around the corner, just a little bit more, whether 38, 39 pages, whatever the number is, but we're very close to the halfway point in terms of page count in our 7.5-year journey through the Talmud. So exciting things are afoot. All right, we pick it up today near the top of page 88a. We're in chapter 9 of Tractate Gittin, continuing our discussion of Mishnah number 7. So Mishnah number 7 was a little bit technical, and it discusses, if a scribe wrote 2 gets, right? A get is a bill of divorce. So normally you would think, okay, a husband divorces his wife under Jewish law by he hands her a get. Now we've learned that the get must say, you are hereby, that his name, her name, where they live, the date should be in it. And the operative language is, you are hereby permitted to any other man, right? When you get betrothed and married, so she becomes prohibited to every other man and permitted only to her husband. When they divorce, she'll become prohibited to her husband and permitted to every other man. She could actually remarry her husband, so I guess she just becomes permitted. She's no longer married. That's the operative language. Now, if a scribe, because there were 2 cheap husbands who didn't want to pay for the paper of their own get, had the scribe write the language of the get for 2 couples that are divorcing on 1 scroll, 1 piece of paper. So this Mishnah is explaining that it has to be very clear which get the 2 witnesses are signing. Now, you don't have to have witness signatures. The witnesses have to be there and are able to testify that they witnessed that the get was handed to her, either by the husband or his agent. But if the witnesses are signing the get, so then they have to sign in a way that is clear that they are the witnesses for that particular get. And we also learned that they can sign their names in Hebrew or they can sign their names in Greek. And if they can sign their names in Greek, they can sign their names in any language. And what we're really looking for is absolute clarity that this couple has become divorced. What we don't want is an uncertain divorce, because an uncertain divorce, as we've said over and over again, produces horrible results. If she remarries, but she wasn't really divorced from the first husband, then the second marriage is invalid. If they have children, those children are mamzers who are prohibited to marry other Jews. Huge problem. So God forbid you're ever getting a divorce. You go to a proper Beis Din, a proper rabbinic court, and they make sure that you do all the documents absolutely clearly so you don't have these issues. All right, we pick it up on 88a, and the Gemara asks, although it is clearly 1 bill of divorce, perhaps the scribe wrote the first part of the get, and then the husband changed his mind about divorcing his wife, thereby canceling the get, and afterward he changed his mind again, and the scribe then wrote the rest of the get in the second column after the first part was already canceled. So this is if the language of the get, and we saw that the minimum is you're hereby permitted to any other man, but the sages actually required more language than that. We had that on page 85. So let's say the language was incomplete. The husband said, stop writing it. Then he changed his mind. He said, you know what, start writing it again. The scribe added more language in a second column, and now we're not sure if this is a valid get or not. That's what they're describing. Right, so what happens? So the Gemara answers, it is a case where he wrote, the scribe on behalf of the husband, you are hereby, right, he only got that far, you are hereby, on the bottom of the first column, and then the scribe continued, permitted to marry any man, at the top of the second column. So in this case, there is obvious continuity between the columns, and he certainly did not change his mind in the meantime. So the Gemara asks, but perhaps it happened that he stopped in the middle of a sentence. And the Gemara answers, we are not concerned to such a degree. It is highly unlikely that the husband changed his mind in the middle of a sentence. And Rav Ashi said the Mishnah is referring to a case where the stretch of the scroll is clear, so it is obvious that it is a complete piece of parchment and that nothing was cut out of it. That's completing an earlier discussion, but the idea again, the writing has to be clear and not raise doubts that witnesses signed a document that they didn't think they were witnessing. They thought they were signing something else. The get was incomplete and the husband abandoned it. Then he resumed writing it, but the first part, he already changed his mind, lost the intent, in which case that is invalid, right? If he changed his mind and said, cancel, I don't want to divorce her, so he should have got a new get, had the scribe write a new get. These are the things we're concerned about, but as we learn right there, the sages are unconcerned about uncommon matters. Again, hypotheticals that they're dealing with, like what if that would come up, but to avoid these kinds of uncertainties, a proper scribe and a proper rabbinic court will make sure that it's all written at once and signed. All right, we skip a few paragraphs. It is stated in our Mishnah, number 7, with regard to a get that was written in Hebrew and the witnesses signed in Greek, or that was written in Greek and its witnesses signed in Hebrew, or in which one witness signed in Hebrew and one witness signed in Greek, or if a bill of divorce has the writing of a scribe and the scribe identifies his handwriting and one witness verifies his signature. In all these cases, it is valid, as though two witnesses testified to ratify their signatures. And Rabbi Yirmiyah says, we learned that the Mishnah means that the scribe signed the get as a witness. His handwriting in the text is not sufficient. It's not sufficient to say we recognize that that scribe was a proper scribe, wrote out that get. He can act as one of the witnesses. It's preferable that he doesn't, but he can. And if he's going to be one of the witnesses, he has to sign. He can't. It's not enough that he just wrote the get and we recognize his handwriting. Rav Chisda says, in accordance with whose opinion is this? It is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yosef, that there is no concern that the scribe signed unlawfully. And the Gemara relates there was a certain marriage contract, a ketubah, that was brought before Rabbi Abahu, which people recognized and verified its formula, meaning the scribe's handwriting, and the signature of one witness. So normally you need two witnesses, but remember, for a get, you don't even need two witnesses signing it. It's enough that they see the get handed to her. Now, we prefer, ab initio, that the witnesses do sign the get, because later they might not be available to ratify, to testify that they saw the get given to the wife. If somebody challenges that the couple wasn't really divorced, maybe those witnesses aren't around. So we prefer that they do actually sign the get, and maybe they've died, maybe they've moved away, but now we can bring in people who recognize the signatures of the witnesses and they can ratify the get in this manner. That's why it's not essential that the witnesses sign, but it is highly desirable. Okay, and if they do sign, but for some reason the signatures are not valid, then the get becomes invalid. Even though you don't need signatures for valid get, if witnesses do sign the get and then they sign it improperly, that will invalidate the get. Right, so there was a certain ketubah that was brought before Rabbi Abahu, which people recognized and verified its formula. I mean, they recognized the scribe's handwriting, and there was just the signature of one witness. So Rabbi Abahu thought to deem it valid based on the scribe's handwriting plus one witness. And Rabbi Yirmiyah said to him, we learn that the Mishnah means the scribe signed the get. His handwriting alone is not sufficient. He can be one of the witnesses, even though it's preferable that you have two witnesses, not including the scribe. The scribe can be one of the witnesses, but it is not sufficient if it's just his handwriting that's recognizable. It is stated in the Mishnah with regard to the names of the husband and wife, if the scribe wrote his surname or nickname and her surname or nickname, it is valid. Surname is interesting, right? What's a surname? Litvak is my surname. Usually in America we call that a last name, but it's also called a surname. But this idea, that somebody is Salvador Litvak or Leona Sue Thacker or Paula Klauser, right? Members of our class, first name, last name, that's not so old in history. The idea of having last names, I'm sure a great historian like Bill could tell us more about this, but it's fairly recent, right? I mean, how are Jews identified? Right, my Hebrew name is Yoel ben Avinoam, right? Yoel, the son of Avinoam. Now you could have, the man's name, the son of his father, and there could be two fairly common first names, and so you could have a lot of people in a city with that name. So you would add further identifying marks, so Yoel ben Avinoam from Santiago, Chile, or from Jerusalem or something like that, and help identify the person. But the creation of last names is fairly recent in history, right? And so you see a lot of these Jewish names from places like Poland, from Ukraine, from Germany, that ended up being, pearl, silver, gold, diamond. Those are kind of expensive names. I think there was even a time when you had to pay for a desirable last name. And then people would be, who couldn't pay, who were poor, got saddled with not such nice names, But again, fairly recent, just a few hundred years ago. So now we're talking about a discussion that's 1,500 years ago, and they're talking about surnames. What do they mean? It's not the way we think of it. When they're talking about a surname here, they're talking about that you come from an illustrious family, right? So you had an ancestor some number of generations back who was a famous person, and you would tie yourself to that famous person by his first name. And that's what they meant by a surname. So let's continue. Right, so with regard to the names of the husband and wife, if the scribe wrote the husband's surname or nickname and the wife's surname or nickname, it is a valid get, right? Meaning that these names are identifiable names, right? The person that we know who we're talking about. It's going to be clear to that community who is named in the get as getting divorced. And the sages taught, what is a surname? A surname from one's forefathers is valid with regard to a get until 10 generations after the forefather. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says it is valid for only 3 generations. And from this point forward, it is invalid. Here's a note from Rav Steinsaltz. Some commentaries explain that this refers to a case where the name or nickname of the person's forefather was written instead of his father's name. Others claim that it refers to a case where this is the only name written for him. And they note the custom in certain generations of referring to a person by the name of the head of the family generations ago. So accordingly, this name is rendered invalid either 3 or 10 generations after the forefather. The Meiri, a commentator, writes that if the name becomes a surname shared by the family, independent of reference to the forefather it comes from, then it is considered their own surname and it is valid even after this period. Another interpretation is that if a surname has been obsolete in the family for 3 or 10 generations, it becomes invalid. So you see this a little bit like with Levi, right? So Levi, I'm a Levi. That means I'm a descendant, right, of Levi, the third son of Jacob. So we are the Levium, right? The Levium. And so we refer, so my Hebrew name is actually Yoel ben Avinoam, Yoel, the son of Avinoam, Halevi, right? I am a Levi. And so we do refer back to this forefather many more than 10 generations ago, but that's not really an identifier because there are a lot of Levium. But you could see that in some communities, somebody who is a Levi or someone who is a Cohen, they would just call him Cohen or they would just call him Levi. And then, I'm sure they would say, well, is that identifiable enough to distinguish this person from the rest of the members in that particular community? So local customs are going to go a long way when we're talking about this kind of a question. Here we go. So the Gemara asks, in accordance with whose opinion is that which Rabbi Hanina said, that the writing of a surname from one's forefathers is valid with regard to a get until 3 generations after the forefather. It is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. And Rav Huna said, what is the verse from which this opinion is derived? And it is the verse, when you will beget children and children's children, and you will have been long in the land. Deuteronomy 4:25. Now, since the word venoshantem stems from the word yashan, meaning old, it is derived that after one's children, after one's grandchildren, or 3 generations, a matter is considered old and forgotten. Oof, that's rough, right? But you can kind of see how that works. I mean, people tend to know their grandparents. Some are fortunate enough to know their great-grandparents. And then the world goes on, right? And unless you really go out of your way to preserve the stories and recollection and understanding of a person, they get forgotten from this world after 3 or 4 generations, unless you make that effort. I will just mention in passing, because it's fresh on my mind, we were at this family reunion, and we sat and watched this wonderful video where my brother and I interviewed my mom 10 years ago when her dementia was just beginning. But she was really still herself, and we had her tell her life story. There were a lot of things that she couldn't quite, put together at that time, but my brother and I had heard the stories, and we helped her through it. And then on this, so that was 10 years ago. And then on this reunion we just had, celebrating my father turning 80, and just a few days from now, we all watched it with my brother and his family, my family, my dad was there. And it was really special. It was really special. And so even though, people 4 or 5 generations ago, we don't even know their names, right? People 5, 10, 20 generations from now can know what we're like if we create a video record that gets preserved. And so on the last day of our trip, we sat my dad down, and we did the same thing with him. We interviewed him, and we helped him tell his life story and a bunch of stories from his youth with his grandchildren there and listening, and the whole thing was recorded. And thank God we did that. And so I encourage everybody, make a video interview of your parents or grandparents, while they're still strong and able to tell their story. It's a great gift that you can give to the descendants, right, to the future generations. Okay, we go forward. We skip to the end of page 88a, and now we pick this up on 88b with Mishnah number 8 here in chapter 9. With regard to a get that the husband was compelled by the court to write and give his wife, if he was compelled by a Jewish court, it is valid. But if he was compelled by Gentiles, right, meaning by a local secular court that is outside of Jewish law, right, it was a forced divorce, not by Jewish law, but by non-Jewish law, then under Jewish law, we consider that divorce invalid. But with regard to Gentiles, they may beat him at the request of the Jewish court and say to him, do what the Jews are telling you, and it is a valid divorce. And that's Mishnah number 8. And we're like, what are we talking about? That we're saying that you can, threaten or actually beat a man and, physically compel him to divorce his wife. And if a Jewish court does that, it's valid, or even a secular court, but at the instruction of a Jewish court, then it becomes valid. What are we talking about? Well, there are certain situations where a husband refuses to give his wife a get, and he's the one who's wrong and being unreasonable, and we force him, right? It still happens today. So that's called an aguna, right? A stranded woman. The marriage has completely fallen apart. They don't live together. It's terrible. They can't stand each other. They need to be divorced. But because Jewish law holds that the way that couples get divorced is that the man gives his wife a get. So if he refuses to give the get, then she's stuck. She can't get the divorce, right? And she can't to the Beis Din, to the rabbinic court, and they do everything in their power to compel this husband to divorce his wife. And sometimes it's not easy, and then that becomes a disgrace within the community, and people will shun that man. This is not common. It just happens here and there, now and then. But when these situations crop up, it's terrible. It's a very, very difficult situation. And here, you even see the sages talking about it in a Mishna, so 2,000 years ago, that it sometimes becomes necessary to coerce a Jewish husband to give his wife the divorce, and then that is a valid divorce, even though, right, he did it against his will, but only, right, not when some bully forces him to, or she's having an affair and she just wants to get out and, has some thugs beat up the husband. No, it has to be a court, right? A rabbinic court coerces the husband to do it. Okay, so here's the Gemara on Mishnah number 8. Rav Nachman says that Shmuel says with regard to a get that the husband was compelled to give by a Jewish court, if they did so lawfully, as the law obligated the husband to divorce his wife, well, then it is valid. And this is referring to cases where sexual intercourse is forbidden, or specific cases where the sages instituted that the husband is obligated to divorce his wife. If they did so unlawfully, right, they for whatever reason, the rabbinic court reached an erroneous ruling and then forced the husband to give the get, well, that was not a valid get because the underlying law was not there for coercing the husband to do it. And so that is not a valid get. The couple are still married. But it is not considered entirely invalid. This invalid get that shouldn't have been given still has some validity in the sense that that woman is now precluded from marrying a priest because priests are not allowed to marry a divorcee, or, as we've seen, even somebody with the aroma of a divorcee, a woman who was given a get, even though the get was conditional and the condition was not met. So she wasn't divorced by that get, and then the husband died, and she became a widow, but still, because there was that aroma of a get, she can marry any other Jew, but she can't marry a priest because he can't marry a divorcee. Also, a woman who performed chalitza, a priest cannot marry. And in a case where the husband was compelled to give a divorce by Gentiles, if he was compelled lawfully, the get is not valid, right? This is where a Gentile court compelled the marriage. So even if they did it lawfully, it is not a valid divorce, but it also disqualifies the wife from marrying a priest. But if the husband was compelled unlawfully by these Gentiles, then it does not have even the trace of a get, and the woman, if she becomes widowed after that, is permitted to marry a priest, right? This unlawful, coerced get, where the coercing entity was Gentiles, does not even create the aroma of a get, and she can still marry a priest. Now, the Gemara raises an objection with regard to the statement that if the husband was compelled by Gentiles, the divorce is invalid, but it also disqualifies the wife from marrying a priest. Whichever way you look at it, the statement is difficult. If Gentiles are legally capable of compulsion, it should be rendered valid with regard to the woman's permission to remarry as well. And if they are not legally capable of compulsion, it should not disqualify her from marrying a priest either. So Rav Misharshia says, by Torah law, a get that the husband was compelled by Gentiles to write and give to his wife is valid. And what is the reason the sages said that it is not valid? It is so that each and every woman will not go and depend on a Gentile to compel her husband to divorce her through temptation or bribery, and therefore she will release herself from her husband unlawfully. The Gemara asks, if that is so, that where the husband was compelled by Gentiles, the get is valid by Torah law, why did Shmuel rule that if he was compelled unlawfully, it does not have even the trace of a bill of divorce? Let a get that the husband was compelled unlawfully by Gentiles to give his wife be compared to a case where he was compelled unlawfully by a Jewish court and disqualified the wife from marrying a priest as well. Trace of aroma of a get. So rather, the statement of Rav Misharshia that by Torah law a get is valid even if the husband was compelled by Gentiles to write and give to his wife is a mistake. In principle, it does not have even the trace of a get, even if the husband is required by law to divorce his wife. And what is the reason that the wife is disqualified from marrying a priest in this case? It is because the case where the husband was compelled lawfully by Gentiles can be confused with a case where he was compelled a case where he was compelled lawfully by Gentiles can be confused with a case where he was compelled lawfully by Jews, by a Jewish court. If a get that Gentiles compel the husband to write and give to his wife carries no weight, people might think that this is likewise the law with regard to a case where Jews compel the husband to do so. Therefore, the sages issued a decree that even if the husband was compelled by Gentiles, the wife is disqualified from marrying a priest, protecting the purity of the priestly class. As we've seen, they're very stringent, making sure that a priest doesn't come close to violating a law, because priests have to be in that state of extreme purity so that they can bring offerings on the altar when the temple is standing. Therefore, the sages issued a decree that even if the husband was compelled by Gentiles, the wife is disqualified from marrying a priest. By contrast, the case where the husband was compelled unlawfully by Gentiles cannot be confused with the case where he was compelled lawfully by Jews, as these cases are too dissimilar. Therefore, a get that Gentiles unlawfully compel the husband to write and give to his wife is entirely invalid and doesn't disqualify her from marrying a priest should she become widowed from that man. And that concludes our discussion of Mishnah number 8 here in chapter 9. We move on to Mishnah number 9, still on page 88b. If a rumor circulated in the city that an unmarried woman is betrothed, right? An unmarried woman, a rumor that she was betrothed, right? So she accepted a betrothal from some suitor. Remember that betrothal is not like engagement under, in American culture or secular culture. In American culture, if you get engaged and then you break off the engagement, okay, she might give him the ring back, she might not, but these people have no legal relationship to each other. Betrothal is like being married. It's just like being married. They might not be living together yet, but once they are betrothed, if they break off the betrothal, he has to give her a get. He has to give her a bill of divorce to break off that betrothal. And even though they were never formally married, they never stood under the wedding canopy, the chuppah, together, now to break off a betrothal, she becomes a divorcee. It doesn't matter, no other effect than that she is precluded from marrying a priest. Now, what about a rumor? A rumor circulated in the city that a single woman, unmarried woman, was actually betrothed. Now, right, why is it a rumor? Evidently, she says, no, I was never betrothed, but others say, yes, she was betrothed. So that's the situation. So if a rumor circulated in the city that an unmarried woman is betrothed, she is considered to be betrothed. Similarly, if a rumor circulated that a married woman is divorced, she is divorced, provided that there is no valid alternative explanation for the rumor. Now that's a big if, right? So there can certainly be explanations, and then we would dismiss the rumor. Now, what is considered a valid explanation? For example, it is a case where there is a rumor that so-and-so divorced his wife, but that the get was given to her conditionally. It is therefore possible that the condition was not fulfilled, and she is not actually divorced. And similarly, if there is a rumor that a woman was betrothed, but that the man threw her betrothal, right, meaning the money or the document of betrothal to her, and it is uncertain whether it landed closer to her or closer to him, and therefore the status of their betrothal is likewise uncertain. So this is considered a valid explanation, and we don't assume that she was betrothed even though she denies it. That's Mishnah number 9. Here comes the Gemara. With regard to the statement that a woman who is rumored to be divorced is divorced, do we render her forbidden to her husband if she is married to a priest? But didn't Rav Ashi say, right, if a priest divorces his wife, or even if he gives her a get that's conditional, right, very big problem. If she actually is considered to be divorced now, well, he can't remarry her, right? A non-priest, if a Jewish man says, you know what, I've had it, and he gives his wife a get and divorces her, and then he thinks, what have I done? Please, honey, take me back, and she agrees, no problem, they can remarry. But if a priest divorces his wife, he cannot take her back because now she's a divorcee and a priest can't marry a divorcee. So what happens here, right? So with regard to this statement that a woman who is rumored to be divorced is divorced, unless there's an alternative explanation, do we render her forbidden to her husband if she is married to a priest? But didn't Rav Ashi say that we are not concerned about any rumor that circulates after they are married? Accordingly, a woman should not be compelled to leave her husband merely on the basis of a rumor. And the Gemara answers that this is what the Mishna is saying. If a rumor circulated in the city that a woman is betrothed, then she is betrothed, and she may not marry another man until she receives a get from the man to whom she is rumored to be betrothed. If she is rumored to have been betrothed to a certain man and subsequently divorced from him, so she is considered to be divorced and she may remarry. And what is the reason for this? The rumor came with its receipt. The rumor that she is betrothed is canceled by the rumor that she is divorced. No problem, she's free. We're on page 89a now. Now, as we'll see in the next section, the basic thing that we're going to read is they're being very stringent. The questions that they're asking are based on this stringency that, God forbid, a woman who thinks she's divorced is not divorced and she goes and remarries, huge problem, right? Or a woman who was betrothed and didn't think she was betrothed, but she was, right? And then she goes and marries some guy. Well, that marriage is not a marriage because she's still betrothed to this first man that she never got a get from him. So that's why they're being stringent about rumors. Nevertheless, rumors are rumors, not testimony. And the theme here is we don't listen to rumors, right? Unless there's a very compelling reason to listen to this rumor, we don't listen to rumors. So listen. Rava said, if a rumor circulated in the city that a woman engaged in licentious sexual intercourse, we are not concerned that the rumor is true with regard to her eligibility to marry a priest. And what is the reason for this? It is assumed that people saw her engage in merely licentious behavior, not actual sex, in a manner that does not disqualify her from marrying a priest. Right? A priest can't marry a zona. What's a zona? A woman who has sex outside of marriage. Right? He could marry a widow. He can't marry a divorcee, and he can't marry a woman of loose morals. What's a woman of loose morals? One who is known to have had extramarital sex, not just somebody who's flirty or dresses provocatively or something like that. Now, the statement is parallel to one side of a dispute among the Tanaim, the rabbis of the Mishna. If a woman ate in the marketplace, walked with her neck stretched forward in an arrogant manner in the marketplace, or nursed her baby in the marketplace. With regard to all of these cases, Rabbi Meir says that she must leave her husband, since all of these behaviors are considered licentious behavior. Rabbi Akiva says that she must leave him only once the women who spin by the moonlight converse about her having engaged in promiscuous sexual intercourse, as this indicates that the matter is well known and accepted as fact. It's not just a rumor here and there, but somehow it just became well known. Everybody knows she sleeps around, has slept with not one person, but a bunch of guys. And okay, we're going to tell her husband, dude, you have to divorce your wife. She's been cheating on you. You might close your eyes and want to ignore it, but it's established that she's cheated on you. You must divorce her. That's what Rabbi Akiva is saying. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri said to Rabbi Akiva, if so, you have not allowed any daughter of Abraham, our forefather, to remain with her husband, i.e. all wives will be forced to leave their husbands. Wait, what? Didn't Rabbi Akiva just say, no, only if it's totally confirmed she's some kind of person who sleeps around and it's well known. And now Yochanan ben Nuri is saying, what are you talking about? All wives are going to fall into this category. What? What's he saying? As it is common for women to slander their peers. So even if you hear some kind of a terrible, vicious rumor like that, where the people talking this rumor say, no, it's not just a rumor, it's established as a fact that this woman sleeps around. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is saying, well, we're going to believe that? unless you have witnesses providing eyewitness testimony, and two of them, we don't believe that kind of nonsense, because anybody could gang up on a poor person, an unsuspecting person, and say, oh yeah, we heard this, we saw this, and not sworn testimony, and just spreading vile, vicious gossip, and then we're going to force the marriage to break up over that? No way, says Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. And the Torah said, quote, because he has found some unseemly matter in her, and he writes her a scroll of severance. That's the basic divorce law, Deuteronomy 24:1. So what does it mean that the husband has found some unseemly matter in her? Now, the husband, as we'll see, he has an option to divorce his wife basically for any reason that he wants, although that will be limited in certain ways. The question is, when is he obligated to divorce her? When is he obligated? Right? He has found some unseemly matter in her, and he writes her a scroll of severance. And so that's in Deuteronomy 24:1. And it says in another part of the Torah, in Deuteronomy 19:15, at the mouth of two witnesses, or at the mouth of three witnesses, a matter shall be established. So, just as there the word matter is referring to a clear matter as it is established through witness testimony, so too here the unseemly matter that is considered a cause for divorce is also referring to a clear matter that should be established by two witnesses, not merely through a rumor. Right? And so Rava's statement is in accordance with this opinion, which is also the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Now, the sages taught, if a rumor circulated that a certain unmarried woman is a non-virgin, one is not concerned about it, and she may even marry the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. If a rumor circulated that she is a married woman, one is not concerned about it. If a rumor circulated that she is a betrothed woman, one is not concerned about it. If a rumor circulated that she is betrothed, but not to so-and-so, i.e. the man who betrothed her is not specified, we are not concerned about this rumor. If a rumor circulated that she was betrothed in another city, one is not concerned about it. If a rumor circulated that she is a daughter born from an incestuous or adulterous relationship, meaning she's a mamzer, one is not concerned about it. If a rumor circulated that she is a female slave, one is not concerned about it. Similarly, if a rumor circulated that so-and-so consecrated his property or that so-and-so renounced ownership of his property, we are not concerned about these rumors, and his property cannot be taken away by the temple treasury or any other person. So you see, there are times that we have to be stringent about rumors, at least as much as to get involved and say, clear this up. But overall, the overarching, consistent legal principle is, unless there's some kind of incredibly compelling reason to get involved on the basis of a rumor, meaning that we're going to investigate and bring in witnesses, we don't even do that. We don't listen to rumors, right? And certainly in terms of Lashon Hara, evil tongue, vicious, speaking about other people, creating rumors, that's not just something we don't do. That is a major sin. You want to learn more about that? Read the Chafetz Chaim, right? But we certainly don't create rumors, and we don't listen to rumors. That's also part of Lashon Hara, that we don't listen to it. We don't listen to rumors. Now skipping some paragraphs, Rabbi Abba and Rav Huna said that Rav said the Mishna is not referring to a case where people heard only an echo, right, a rumor of a rumor. Rather, it is referring to a case where people say, from where did so-and-so hear that this woman is betrothed, who's telling us that she's single and available to marry some other guy? So they say from so-and-so heard it from so-and-so. And as a result, the judges investigate the rumor continuously, tracing the hearsay until they reach actual witnesses. And the Gemara raises an objection. If the court reaches a clear matter, it is proper testimony, not a rumor. Rather, when Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda came from Israel, from the land of Israel to Babylonia, he taught that Rabbi Abba said, that Rav Huna said, that Rav said, the Mishnah is not referring to a case where people only heard an echo. Rather, it is referring to a case where people say, from where did so-and-so hear this? From so-and-so and so-and-so, who heard it from so-and-so. but the original source of the rumor went overseas and they can't investigate further, right? So there's a strong rumor that is actually tied to an original witness, but that witness is not available. That's a situation where they can't be sure, but it's strong enough that they have to investigate and get involved and basically clear the air, right? Based on, okay, because there's this rumor, we want to erase the rumor, we want to deal with the rumor. So if she didn't, that she might have been betrothed, okay, so get a get from that man and make sure that whatever possibility of a rumor has to create problems in the future, we deal with it. We skip forward to page 89b, about halfway down. Rav Ashi said, any rumor that was not confirmed in court is not regarded as a significant rumor. And Rav Ashi said, with regard to any rumor that was spread about a woman after her marriage, we are not concerned about it. She need not leave her husband and he need not divorce her. And the Gemara infers that if the rumor circulated after her betrothal but before her marriage, then we are concerned about it and she must be divorced from her betrothed. And Rav Chaviva said, even if it circulated after her betrothal and before her marriage, we are still not concerned about a rumor. And the Gemara concludes, and the halacha, the law is that we are not concerned about a rumor. We skip forward to page 90a, Mishnah number 10, the final page, the final Mishnah of our tractate. Beis Shammai, the followers of Shammai say, a man may not divorce his wife unless he finds out about her having engaged in a matter of forbidden sexual intercourse, devar erva, right? So erva is prohibited sexual intercourse. A devar is a matter, right? It's also the word for a word, but it's also a thing or a matter, right? So a prohibited sexual matter. Beis Shammai, very hardcore. You can't get divorced unless your wife cheats on you. Either that she committed adultery or is suspected of doing so, in which case she could become a sota. As it is stated, Deuteronomy 24:1, because he can only divorce her because he has found some unseemly matter, ervat davar, in her, and he writes her a scroll of severance. But that is the minority opinion. And Beis Hillel say the husband may divorce her, even due to a minor issue. For example, because she burned or oversalted his food. As it is stated, because he has found some unseemly matter in her. Meaning he found any type of shortcoming in her. Rabbi Akiva says he may divorce her even if he found another woman who is better looking than her and wishes to marry her, as it is stated in that verse, and it comes to pass if she finds no favor in his eyes. That's Mishnah number 10. Now, as you'll see, the sages are not saying, yeah, husbands, don't worry about it. You decide you're not into your wife anymore. She's not good looking. She doesn't cook the way you want her to cook. Dump her. No, they're not saying that at all. They're saying that a husband has a legal basis to divorce his wife, and he doesn't need to find out that she cheated in order for him to divorce her. However, should a husband divorce his wife only over some small thing? Oh no. Oh no. And they will say that explicitly further down in the Gemara. Now, here's the Gemara. It is taught in a Baraisa that Beis Hillel said to Beis Shammai, but isn't the word devar, matter, already stated in the verse, indicating that any disadvantageous matter is a legitimate reason for divorce? And Beis Shammai answered them, but isn't the word ervat, unseemly, right? Prohibited sexual conduct, here being translated as unseemly. Isn't unseemly already stated? Beis Hillel said to Beis Shammai, if the word unseemly had been stated and the word matter had not been stated, I would have said that a wife should leave her husband due to forbidden sexual intercourse, but she should not have to leave him due to any other matter. Therefore, the Torah includes the word matter. And if the word matter had been stated and the word unseemly had been omitted, then I would have said that if he divorced her merely due to a disadvantageous matter, she may marry another man, as the Torah continues, and she departs out of his house and goes and becomes another man's wife. But if she was divorced due to her engaging in forbidden sexual intercourse, that she cheated on her husband,
then she may not marry another man, as she is prohibited from remarrying ever. But that's not the law, says Beis Hillel. Therefore, the word unseemly is stated, indicating that even a wife who is divorced due to adultery is permitted to remarry. A woman who cheats on her husband, he must divorce her. But she can go and have another life. She can go marry another guy. She can't marry the one she cheated on her husband with. Right? She cannot marry her paramour. But after the divorce, she's now a free agent and she can marry whoever she wants under Jewish law, other than the husband who had to divorce her because she cheated on him, and she cannot marry the guy she cheated with, but she can marry anyone else. She's not precluded from marriage in the future because she cheated on this prior husband. And the Gemara asks, and so Beis Hillel is deriving, right, because the Torah says he divorces her because he found an unseemly matter in her. So Beis Hillel is saying that means he must divorce her if she cheated on him. He can divorce her for anything that bothers him. That's what we get from those two words. Now, what do Beis Shammai do with the word matter, devar? How do they interpret it? It seems superfluous, as in their opinion, the verse refers specifically to a wife who engaged in forbidden sexual intercourse. So the Gemara answers, the word devar is stated here with regard to divorce, and the word devar is stated there with regard to testimony. At the mouth of two witnesses, or at the mouth of three witnesses, shall a devar be established. So just as there it is stated that a matter is established through two witnesses or more, so too here a matter of forbidden sexual intercourse justifies divorce only if it is established through two witnesses, right? So if one person comes forward and says, I saw your wife cheating on you, he does not have to divorce her if he doesn't believe that one witness. And he can divorce her because he can divorce her anyway, but he's not obligated to divorce her. As if two witnesses came and said, we saw your wife, have sex with that other man, then the husband must divorce her. And Beis Hillel would respond to this analogy in the following manner. It is written because he has found something unseemly in a matter, erva b'devar, indicating that it was established through the testimony of two witnesses. That's how we know she engaged in adultery. And Beis Shammai would respond to Beis Hillel's interpretation like this. Is it written because he has found either something unseemly or another matter in accordance with Beis Hillel's understanding? Right? Beis Hillel say he can divorce her because she cheated on him with another man, or because he just, finds something that bothers him. Beis Shammai would say, what do you mean or? The two words are linked together. They need to work together. That's why Beis Shammai say only if it's established by two witnesses that she cheated, must he divorce her. And Beis Hillel would respond that for this reason, the expression some unseemly matter is written as it indicates that interpretation, i.e. that a husband is not obligated to divorce his wife unless there are two witnesses to her having engaged in forbidden sexual intercourse. And it also indicates this interpretation that he may divorce her due to any deficiency, be it adultery or any other shortcoming, and that is the law. It is stated in the Mishna that Rabbi Akiva says he may divorce her even if he found another woman who is better looking than her. With regard to what do they disagree? They disagree with regard to the application of Reish Lakish's statement. As Reish Lakish said, that the term ki, ki, which is spelled kaf yud, has four distinct meanings. The word ki can mean either if, perhaps, rather, or because. Ki in Hebrew can mean either of those four words. If, perhaps, rather, or because. Now, Beis Shammai hold that the verse, and it comes to pass, if she finds no favor in his eyes, ki, because he has found some unseemly matter in her, means that she did not find favor in his eyes due to the fact that he has found some unseemly matter in her. And Rabbi Akiva holds that the phrase because, ki, he has found some unseemly matter in her means, or if he has found some unseemly matter in her, right? So that's how Beis Shammai would link that it has to, that he's going to divorce her. He wants to divorce her because she cheated on him. And Rabbi Akiva and Beis Hillel are saying he finds disfavor in her, and so he's going to divorce her, or witnesses have established that she cheated on him, and then not only can he divorce, but he must divorce her. Now, Rav Papa said to Rava, according to Beis Hillel, if the husband found out about her according to Beis Hillel, if the husband found about her neither forbidden sexual intercourse nor any other matter, but he divorced her anyway, then what is the law? Is the divorce valid? If he can't even point to what it is that bothers him about her, and he divorced her anyway, is it a valid divorce? And Rava said to him that the answer can be derived from what the Merciful One reveals in the Torah with regard to a rapist. A rapist, what is his punishment? If a man rapes a woman, he has rendered her not a virgin, which is going to be a big problem for her getting married. If she chooses, it's not against her will, but if she chooses, then she can force the rapist to marry her, right? And if she says, no, I want him to marry me, and he can support me for the rest of my life, and then that is the rapist's punishment. This woman that he lusted after and took against her will, if by her choice she wants to marry him, then he has to marry her, and he can never divorce her. He does not have that option that any other husband has to divorce his wife. The rapist can never divorce that wife, and he must support her as a wife for the rest of his life. Right? So here it says, so the Merciful reveals in his Torah, Deuteronomy 22:29, he, the rapist, may not send her away all his days, indicating that even if he divorces the woman whom he raped and was subsequently commanded to marry, all his days he stands commanded to arise and remarry her as his wife. Evidently, specifically there, the husband is obligated to remarry his divorcee, as the Merciful One reveals as much. But here, what he did, right? This is a different case. In other words, the rapist cannot divorce his wife ever, but this husband, who's not a rapist, can divorce his wife. So Rav Misharshis, for any reason, right? Even if he doesn't have a reason. So Rav Misharshis said to Rava, if he intends to divorce her and she is living with him and serving him, what is the law? And Rava read the following verse about such a person: devise not evil against your neighbor, seeing he dwells securely by you. In other words, the wife is being a good wife, and this guy divorces her. Okay, he has the ability to do that, but we and the community regard him as evil, right? That he's somebody who is doing evil. Now, it is taught in a Baraisa, Tosefta on Sota 5:9, that Rabbi Meir would say, just as there are different attitudes with regard to food, so too there are different attitudes with regard to women. With regard to food, you have a person who, when a fly falls into his cup, he throws out the wine with the fly and he does not drink the wine. And this is comparable to the demeanor of Papos ben Yehuda with regard to his wife, as he would lock the door before his wife and leave the house so that she would not see any other man. I think we in the modern times would say this is a horrible husband who is totally controlling, abusive, terrible guy. No argument, that's what he is. But I think the point that they're making here, this guy is totally overblown, and he is an abusive husband. But they're not praising him. They're just saying he's one extreme end of behavior where he is utterly, out of his mind to make sure that she is not going to become a loose woman or be viewed as a loose woman in the community. Here's the second person. And you have a person who, when a fly falls into his cup, he throws out the fly and he drinks the wine. And this is comparable to the demeanor of any common man, whose wife speaks with her siblings and relatives, and he lets her do so. He's easygoing. He's acting in the proper manner. He's going to be careful not to let his wife, do stuff that's going to be considered slutty, as it will be in the third case. But otherwise, he trusts her to just live like any other woman, and this is a normal man. And then you have the third case. You have a man who, when a fly falls into his serving bowl, he sucks the fly and eats the food. So this is the demeanor of a bad man, who sees his wife going out into the street with her head uncovered and spinning in the marketplace immodestly and with her garment open from both sides and bathing with men, and he ignores it, right? So this is somebody, whose wife is behaving very inappropriately, and he says, what can I do? Right? That is inappropriate behavior for the husband. That is what Rabbi Meir is saying. Now we're in 90b. We're near the end of our daf and our SIYUM. The Gemara asks, can it enter your mind that the Barais is referring to a wife who bathes with men? Can it enter your mind that the Barais is referring to a wife who bathes with other men? Even a man of the lowest moral character would not allow his wife to act in this manner. Rather, the Barais means that she bathes in a place where men often bathe. And the Brisa continues, with regard to this kind of wife, it is a mitzvah by Torah law to divorce her, as it is stated, because he has found some unseemly matter in her, and he writes her a scroll of severance and gives it to her hand, and he sends her out of his house, and she goes and becomes another man's wife. And the verse called the second husband Acher, right? Another. To state that this man is not a peer of the first husband. They are morally distinct, as that first husband evicted a wicked woman from his house, and the second man introduced a wicked woman into his house. I think what comes to my mind is you have a couple that's married, and let's say that one of the spouses cheats and has an adulterous affair and ends up destroying the marriage, and then the people who cheated, they get married. Now, what are the odds of success of that second marriage? I mean, that marriage was founded by people who cheated on their first spouses. What do you think might happen in that second marriage? Now, if the second man merits, he will send her out, as it is stated in the following verse, and the latter husband hates her, and he sends her out of the house. And if not, she will bury him, as it is stated in the same verse, or if the latter husband dies, it is appropriate for him to receive the punishment of death, as that first man evicted a wicked woman from his house, and that second husband introduced a wicked woman into his house. I'm very close to done. Questions or comments, get them in, but we are going to make a SIYUM. The prophet Malachi states in rebuke of those who divorce their wives, "For I hate sending away, says the Lord, the God of Israel." Malachi 2:16. Rabbi Yehuda says, the verse means that if you hate your wife, send her away. Do not continue living with a woman whom you hate. Rabbi Yochanan says, the verse means that one who sends his wife away is hated by God. And the Gemara explains that they do not disagree. This statement is with regard to a first marriage, i.e., one should tolerate his first wife and not divorce her. And that other statement is with regard to a second marriage, in which case the husband should divorce his wife if he hates her. Right? They're saying that the first marriage, which was arranged by God, unless it's so bad, you should try to make it work. That's what they're saying. As Rabbi Lazar says, with regard to anyone who divorces his first wife, even the altar sheds tears over him. The altar, we're not talking about a church, we're talking about the altar in the holy temple where they bring the sacrifices. Right? The Mizbeach, the holy altar in the temple, sheds tears over one who divorces his first wife. As it is stated, and this further you do, you cover the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping and with sighing, insomuch that he does not regard the offering anymore, nor does he receive it with goodwill from your hand. Yet you say, what for? Because the Lord has been witness between you and the wife of your youth, against whom you have dealt treacherously, though she is your companion and the wife of your covenant. Clearly, one should not divorce the wife of his youth, i.e. his first wife, as one who does so is hated by God for divorcing the woman to whom he was bound in companionship and covenant. And so concludes Tractate Gittin, the 19th volume of the Talmud. So whenever we conclude a tractate, we go right to the language of the SIYUM. We shall return to you, Tractate Gittin, and your glory is upon us. Our thoughts are upon you, Tractate Gittin, and your thoughts are upon us. We will not be forgotten from you, Tractate Gittin, and you will not be forgotten from us, neither in this world nor in the world to come.
We say that 2 more times. We shall return to you, tractate Gittin, and your glory is upon us. Our thoughts are upon you, tractate Gittin, and your thoughts are upon us. We will not be forgotten from you, tractate Gittin, and you will not be forgotten from us, neither in this world nor in the world to come. We shall return to you, tractate Gittin, and your glory is upon us. Our thoughts are upon you, tractate Gittin, and your thoughts are upon us. We will not be forgotten from you, tractate Gittin, and you will not be forgotten from us, neither in this world nor in the world to come. May it be your will, Lord, our God and God of our ancestors, that your Torah will be our avocation in this world and accompany us in the world to come. And then we say the 10 sons of Bar Papa, who are all Torah scholars in their own right. Hanina Bar Papa, Rame Bar Papa, Nachman Bar Papa, Achai Bar Papa, Abba Mari Bar Papa, Rafram Bar Papa, Rakish Bar Papa, Surchav Bar Papa, Ada Bar Papa, Daru Bar Papa. Please, Lord our God, make the words of your Torah sweet in our mouths and in the mouths of your people, the house of Israel, so that we, our descendants and their descendants, and the descendants of your people, the house of Israel, may all know your name and study your Torah for its own sake. Your commandments make me wiser than my enemies, for they are ever with me. Let my heart be undivided in your statutes, in order that I may not be put to shame. I will never forget your precepts, for with them you have quickened me. Blessed are you, O Lord. Teach me your statutes. Amen, amen, amen. Selah forever. We give thanks before you, Lord, our God and God of our ancestors, that you have placed our lot among those who sit in the study hall, and that you have not given us our portion among those who sit idly on street corners. We rise early and they rise early. We rise early to pursue matters of Torah, and they rise early to pursue frivolous matters. We toil and they toil. We toil and receive a reward, and they toil and do not receive a reward. We run and they run. We run to the life of the world to come, and they run to the pit of destruction. As it is stated, but you, God, will bring them down into the pit of destruction. Men of blood and deceit shall not live out half their days, but as for me, I will trust in you. May it be your will, Lord my God, just as you have assisted me in completing tractate Gittin, so assist me to begin other tractates and books and conclude them, to learn and to teach, to observe and to perform, and to fulfill all the teachings of your Torah with love. And may the merit of all the Tanaim and Amoraim, the rabbis of the Mishna, the rabbis of the Gemara, and Torah scholars stand for me and my descendants, so that the Torah will not move from my mouth and from the mouth of my descendants and the descendants of my descendants forever. And may the verse, when you walk, it shall lead you. When you lie down, it shall watch over you. When you awaken, it shall talk with you. Be fulfilled in me. For in the Torah your days shall be multiplied, and the years of your life shall be increased. Length of days is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. May the Lord give strength to his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. And we say, Amen. Oh, a beautiful lady just walked into the office. Pull up a chair, honey. And let me see. Let's kind of do this. That's not good. Go like that. Ow.
Oy.
So, okay. Ow. It smells like burning hair.
Yeah. You okay, honey?
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we'll make a SIYUM in a moment, but as always, as soon as we finish a tractate, we just want to quickly read the first line of the next tractate, Tractate Kiddushin, the laws of betrothal. Here we go. So that will begin on page 2. So we'll just read the first line of the first Mishna, Tractate Kiddushin. A woman is acquired. That's a term that's legal jargon. Means she becomes betrothed. Right, i.e. becomes betrothed to a man to be his wife in one of 3 ways. And she acquires herself, i.e. she terminates her marriage in 2 ways. The Mishnah elaborates, she is acquired through money, through a document, and through sexual intercourse. With regard to a betrothal, through money, there is a dispute between Tanaim. Beis Shammai say, tune in tomorrow night to find out what Beis Shammai say.
Move over just a bit. I want to say hi to everybody.
I can't move over anymore.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm just hitting.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to greet you all. How exciting is this? We finished another tractate. Amazing.
Amazing.
And I love that we're finishing the kind of sad and even sordid laws of divorce and moving into the happy and celebratory and joyful laws of marriage.
Amen.
So I just wanted to say, congratulations and mazel tov to all of you. This is quite an accomplishment. You should all be very proud of yourselves. And I also wanted to say Chodesh Tov, happy new month. As Sal was mentioning, we are now starting the new Hebrew month of Elul, which is a very special month. It's the month before Rosh Hashanah, when we are preparing ourselves spiritually for the great and awesome Day of Judgment. It's Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi said that at this time during the month of Elul, it's like, he used the metaphor of the king is in the field, meaning the king isn't on his throne in his palace. The king has come out to the field to be close to the people. So God, Hashem, God is particularly close to us at this time. And I just wanted to share a little thing that happened to me, which I really felt that God was very close to me and helping me prepare myself spiritually. So if you want to undertake that character refinement at this time, God will help you. So I'll tell you what happened to me. So as you may know, we were just on a family vacation with Sal's wonderful family in Vermont. And on the last morning, a weird freak thing happened where I dropped my phone, okay, which most people probably have dropped their phone before, but totally freakish, random, I just kind of went through a vent opening and fell 3 floors down through a air conditioning duct. Okay,
It's like dropping a coin near a slot, and it falls right in the slot. I mean, the odds against what happened to her happening are like gotta be 1 in 10,000.
So long story short, we were not able to retrieve my phone before we left. So we left, and I don't have my phone. And thank God the people there are sending it to me. It's on its way.
They opened the duct and got it out.
They opened the duct and got it out. But, I really feel like this is really a pretty unmistakable message from God to me, which is I spend too much time on my phone. And what I was doing when it happened was I had just woken up. I was reaching to the night table to pick up my phone before I even said Modani or anything. And
thank you, God.
That's before I, started my day. The first thing is looking at the phone. And that's not good. And I spend way too much time on my phone, I'm sure, as, many of us do. So I returned to LA without my phone. I don't have my phone. I don't know when I'm going to get it, probably in the beginning of next week. But it's actually very liberating to not have my phone and not be constantly checking WhatsApp or whatever. And I really feel like it was a little message from God to me at this time. Listen, this is Elul we're going into. Focus on your character refinement and don't waste so much time on your phone. So it was like the way that it happened was so freakish that it could only be a message. So anyway, just wanted to share that.
Oh, Shkoyak, thank you for sharing, sweetie. Let's make a l'chaim. Let's all make a l'chaim together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shakol nihibid v'ro.
Amen.
Mine. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. We have begun and completed another tractate.
L'chaim.
We're basically halfway done. After l'chaim.
This is. I was expecting bourbon. I often when I'm having this kind of whiskey, I like bourbon. This is great too, but it's got a little more of a kick than the bourbon I'm used to. So thank you for bringing out the good stuff.
Yeah. So we have Tractate Kiddushin, more personal matters, and then we finish that Seder, that order of tractates, and then we enter the place where when you begin a Talmud education as a young person, traditionally that's where you start, right in the middle of the Talmud. I guess it's Bava Kama? Yeah, Bava Kama, and then Bava Metzia, and then Bava Basra. What's interesting is, so we'll do, we have 82 pages of Tractate Kiddushin. When we finish that, we get into the Bavas, right? Bava Kama, Bava Metzia, and Bava Basra. And that's the laws of commercial stuff. Like it starts with two people are hanging onto a garment, each claiming it's his. What do we do with them? And what's interesting is it sounds like, who needs to learn contracts? That's boring. But you'll see.
It sounds interesting, though.
It's super interesting.
It's like real life.
Everything is practical.
Yeah.
Everything is practical and totally relevant to our lives today. When we rent, when we borrow, when we lend, when we get into an agreement, did we make a promise? Did we establish a contract? Are we going to be liable? Are we not? Laws of damages, all that kind of stuff. And it's just going to be utterly fascinating when we get there. But
between now and
First,
then,
we've got some.
Tractate Kedushin, which is also
And I
utterly
love
fascinating.
that the way it's falling out is that we're starting Tractate Kedushin, and again, probably the most joyous of all, in this special time right before the holidays.
Right. We're still, I think, 4 pages behind the Daf Yomi cycle. So let me just examine Kedushin. We're not going to, do a highlight show on Saturday night. We always want to keep it short on Saturday night. It's so late.
Yeah.
But maybe Sunday, maybe Monday, or whenever it makes sense pretty soon, we'll just do 4 pages in one day, and then we'll be back on schedule. We don't have any more trips coming up, so hopefully we won't be falling behind anytime soon. Did you send me some questions?
Yeah, there was a couple when I came in. There might have come more.
Okay.
There might be more have come in.
So this is what happens. Now you can see
so you
it.
have to
It's
refresh,
like
yeah.
Google Doc. I just gotta remember to refresh it before the end of class. It's not terrible.
Bada bing. Okay.
So Bill, I guess he was addressing when I
Yes.
said Bill can tell us about last
And
names.
indeed, he can. Of
Oh
course.
yes, for most of history, you really didn't need a last name. You could generally make do with patronymics and demonymics.
Oh.
So-and-so, son of such and so from such and such a place, respectively. Now, some places and cultures did have equivalents to surnames. The illustrious ancestor model the sages are talking about here is so common as to be nearly universal. But you could also get situations like in Rome, where in addition to your own name, cognomen, you would have a gens, a tribal clan, and a pronomen, a formal name for use in conjunction with the gens. I knew I could count on Bill.
Yeah.
He knows the history. Thank you, Bill.
Interesting little factoid. So my maiden name is Davidovich, which literally means son of David. So my family's surname was literally from a first name. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Descendants of David.
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, maybe I'm a direct descendant.
Wow. And Sharon says, point of clarification needed. A sota, then, is an adulteress who denies the commission of adultery and needs to go through their sota ritual. An admitted adulteress is only forced to become a divorcee. Right. A sota is not an adulteress. She might be an adulteress. A sota is one that behaved in such a way
She's suspected.
with some particular man that led to her husband saying, do not seclude yourself with that man ever again. The warning, remember, has to be in front of witnesses. And then other witnesses saw her seclude herself with the man that her husband told her not to seclude herself with. Now, she's still only a suspected adulteress, but because she took that behavior so far that she became a sota, now the husband and wife are prohibited to each other. They have to go when the temple is standing to do the sota ritual in order to become permitted to each other again. An adulteress is one that 2 witnesses come forward and say, we saw her have sex with another man. Not just we saw that she was in a hotel room with that man, because who knows what happened behind the closed door. But somehow they saw her do it. At that point, the husband has no choice. He has to divorce her. And I think he doesn't have the choice to marry her again afterward, though I'm not sure about that. I don't remember that for sure. So it doesn't have to be that she confesses. I think if she does confess, again, he has to divorce her. Same thing as it was established by 2 witnesses. I think. It's interesting. What if she says she's an adulteress and the husband says, I don't believe you? Does he have to divorce her? Because it wasn't established by 2 witnesses and you can't even testify against yourself. So I don't know if that confession counts or not. It's a great question. And Joseph, I'm wondering what the status of Bathsheba was after the incident with David. Well, it's unclear. I can't believe you're bringing this up now because it came up on the golf course this morning with our Christian friend John Daly, who asked me, do Jews believe that David slept with Bathsheba before the marriage ended? Now, my understanding, I could be wrong, but I believe that what we've established elsewhere in the Gemara is that David committed a transgression. He sinned, but not by cheating on her while she was still married. Rather, he sent her husband,
to the front lines.
Uriah, to the front lines of the war where he was likely to perish, and indeed he did. And then he married the widow. And the prophet Nathan, right? Nathan,
berated King David for doing that. He shouldn't have done that. You know, he had all the sheep in the world. Why would he take the one sheep that a poor man owns? It was the parable. But I don't believe that she was an adulteress, as far as I know. Anything else? That's what we've got today.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos, L'chaim, good Hodesh. And I suppose, since it's Elul, we should do an AT shofar blow. Which is a good angle. Go like that. Yeah, like that. All right, my holy brothers and sisters. Good Hodesh, good Shabbos, and congratulations on